We have a lot of students at our school who absolutely love drawing, but sometimes things go a little bit off track. And today I just wanted to show you all a few different tips that you can use, even if you are an absolute beginner at drawing, that will help you with your art. Tip number one is to always pick the best pencil for drawing with. I've got some kids even who they do lots of drawing, and then I ask them, what pencil are you using? And they say, oh, it's a 6B. Not so good. So the best type of pencil that you should be using for your drawing is either an HB or a 2B pencil. HB pencils are generally the most common type of drawing pencil. It's not too hard, not too soft, not too light, not too dark. The second best kind of pencil that you could be using would be a 2B. 2B pencils are just that little bit darker and a little bit softer. So sometimes you have to be careful with them, because if you go too heavy with them, then they can be really difficult to erase later on. My second tip to you is to draw lightly. This is another one where you might think, oh, common knowledge, like why would you not draw lightly? But the thing is, it can be really, really easy to start your drawing off and go heavy. And the issue with going really heavy on your page is that, again, it can be really difficult to erase later on. And another thing is that it doesn't just leave a mark on your page, but if I get an eraser and I actually start to rub this out, it leaves an impression. So it physically marks your page, which means that you've left a little bit of an indent in there, and that can really mess up your drawing later on. Light as a feather. I always tell my kids, light as a feather, light as a feather, and then they bloody ignore me and just do whatever they want anyway. My next tip to you is, please do not stress out about making mistakes. It's really easy when we're drawing that we have some kind of an idea in our brains. We have this amazing imagination that's thinking up these wonderful things, and then we go to put it on the page and sometimes it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't work. And that's okay. For me, I love mistakes, because if I don't make them, I don't learn. There's no point in just sort of like picking up a pencil and being absolutely perfect first go. You have to make those mistakes. My next tip is that you might want to try some different drawing styles. You might be watching YouTube videos or different tutorials, and people will have all their own ideas about how you do something, and it might not work for you. And that's okay. Like for me personally, I sketch a lot like this, where I sketch lots of little marks on the page to try and get to where I want to go. And I might go back a little bit, I might go over my lines, always really lightly, of course, light as a feather. But I've seen some people who just go straight in, just like this, to try and draw what they want to draw. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. There might be some other ways as well, there very likely are. So try a few different ways and see what works best for you. My next tip for you is to step away from your drawing, okay? Step away from your drawing. When we're very close to our work, it can be really tricky to actually see what's really going on with the whole picture. Maybe you're working on a really big piece and there's things that are way out in front of you and then things that are way like right up close to you, and you're going to be getting different perspectives on what you're drawing. Step away from the drawing, put yourself like maybe a meter or two away from your drawing and look at it. Just keep looking at it. Just keep looking at it. And you'll see that there might be little things in there that you can fix and modify as you go along. Next tip. Now this one relates to what do you do if you are wanting to colour in your work, doing some painting, especially watercolour painting. You might have lots of marks all over your page that you need to rub out and just clean things up. Of course you need to do that, but I also really advise that you take an eraser and you rub out most of your lines so that they're very, very faint. Let me show you why. If I did a picture of a square here, and maybe I did a really light square over here as well. Now, if I very lightly rub this out so I can just barely see my square on the page, I'm going to crack open some watercolor paints here. These are just really simple little round palettes that you can get from art stores. What happens is that, especially with watercolor, because it's quite transparent, and you might find this with other mediums as well, is that when you paint over things, you'll actually see the lines underneath. That dark black line there from the pencil, yeah, that's there for life. You can't get rid of that. Once you put your paint on top, that's it. It's like you're sealing the deal, okay? So make sure that you erase your lines so they're very, very faint, so you can still see them, of course, and you know where you're going, just so that it makes it easier for when you paint things on top. My last tip to you, and this actually does relate to painting as well, my last tip is to consider using not a lead pencil, but a color pencil, particularly one that is in the same color as the main color that you want to use for your painting. Does that make sense? With a lead pencil, because it's quite a dark lead, it can show up as black under your painting. But if, for example, so I'll go with orange again. If I was to use an orange pencil and do an orange box on my page with the orange pencil, if I went over it with the orange paint, you can't hardly see that orange box whatsoever. So if that's a bit of a concern for you, if you're like, I don't want to see my lines at all, then try using a color pencil instead of lead. The only thing to keep in mind with that is that color pencils can be really difficult to erase. So you kind of have to have a bit of confidence about your drawing maybe before you get to that bit. Have you heard of any of these tips before? Let me know in the comments down below. I would really love to do some more tip videos for you, more painting videos and things that are really good for teens, kids and beginners. So let me know what you think down below. You can also follow us on social media, check us out online. You can send me an email if you really, really want to. All of our contact stuff is down below, and I really look forward to seeing you next time.